Welcome to Business Outlook, a podcast by the Albuquerque Journal where we focus on 4 revolving themes: real estate, small business, emerging leaders, and technology. If you enjoy our podcasts, please like and subscribe and consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal to help us continue to bring you more content like this. You can find this episode and all our podcasts on the Albuquerque Journal website, abqjournal.com, as well as YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and SoundCloud. See the show notes for a discount on a digital subscription. Thank you for supporting the Albuquerque Journal, New Mexico's leading local news source.
Hi, I'm Allison Carpenter, and this is the Business Outlook's Small Business Podcast. Thank you so much, C&M, for sponsoring.
C&M is truly one college with infinite possibilities in tech and data sciences. C&M offers programs where everyone can learn about software, apps, or how to build websites. You can also choose from AI programs and machine learning, the Internet of Things, and so much more. C&M, one college, infinite possibilities, and a proud sponsor of the Albuquerque Journal's Business Outlook.
Hello, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, Marsha.
Hi, Allison. Thanks for having me. I'm Marsha Souers. I am the owner of Fire of Sandia. Just opened about 6 weeks ago, so I appreciate you having me to talk about that.
Yeah, of course. So I know that Fire of Sandia is a candle bar. Tell me how this works.
I'm going to give you 2 different ways to answer that. The first is tangible, as in what in the world is that? A candle bar is a place where people can come in and make their own fragrance candles. So I have fragrances for like the spa, calming, relaxing kind of scents. I have holiday and winter scents. I have the ones that I was calling setting a mood. So those are things like whiskey and bourbon and library that really does smell like old books. So people come in, I have candles made of every fragrance. They smell the candles to get an idea of what fragrances they would like to experiment mixing together. And then they go into the room where the real action happens. And I bring them the fragrance oils that they've chosen. And they start mixing those oils together to get just the smell that they want in their candle. And then once they have that, I'll bring them the melted wax. They pour that into the fragrance into the wax and make a candle. There are also wax melts and reed diffusers if they prefer to do that. So that's the tangible part of a candle bar. The intangible is the real reason I wanted to do this. I went to a candle bar in Indiana. My daughter's a travel nurse, and I was visiting her. And I had been retired at that point for about 6 months, and I had no idea what I was going to do with myself. And I loved the atmosphere of the bar. And that's what I want to create with mine, is the sense of this is a place where you can come, you can close the door on the world for an hour or so. Mm-hmm. You can totally interact with the people with you or the people around you. And I have seen that happen where people say, look, I have this fragrance, smell it, and they don't even know each other. I want that sense of community. Mm-hmm. I want a place where people feel as though this is where I can come and be calm. And it is a totally mindful experience because you're titrating these oils, sometimes by the drop. And that's my passion for it, is a calm place.
Absolutely. So when I was looking at like pictures on your website, I was like, this looks so intimate and so cozy. And so you talked about making that atmosphere. Like, what specifically was important to you when you were like in the building physically making that atmosphere?
Oh, that's a great question. So when you first walk into a space and it's empty and the walls are white and empty, it's hard to imagine what you want it to look like. So the first thing I did was the tables. I don't know if you noticed that, but they are... can I do a shout out to the company that
Absolutely.
made those? Cut and Dry Lumber.
Mm-hmm.
I went and chose the pieces of wood that I wanted, and then they took it from there and made the tables. So they're all live edge tables. Ooh. And I think they really set the tone for that sense of coziness.
Yeah.
Because it's warm wood, and it really is nice. And then for the walls, because they were empty white walls, I have local artists who are displaying their art. And it's all for sale. People can walk in without making a candle and by the art. And so that's how I've jazzed it up, and I hope make it feel local and warm and inviting.
Absolutely. And so you've kind of already answered this question, but I'll ask it specifically. I think the concern I would have going in is like, oh no, what if I mix together these oils? Am I stuck with them? Have I made proverbially a bad sandwich that I now have to eat?
That has happened. I actually recently had a woman who kept smelling, and I could tell by the look on her face it was not going anywhere. I smelled it, and I agreed with her. This is not working. She said it smelled like a sweaty old man. So we just tossed those oils, and she started over again and came out with what she wanted. No, you're not stuck. We can toss those fragrances.
Yeah, you had mentioned there was like an experimentation process, and I was like, oh, thank God.
Well, it's like chemistry class. Your chemistry teacher isn't going to let you blow up the room, so I will not let you blow up your experience.
And so when you had gone, you said you had gone to a candle bar. Can you tell me a little bit about that experience?
So, and can I say the name of that one?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So a shout out to Penn and Beach in Indiana. These are two sisters-in-law who were making their own candles, and they've grown exponentially. So what I loved about it was this people walking in and out and sharing their fragrances, and it was this sense of this is a community gathering space. This is where people enjoy coming, kind of like a Cheers,
Yeah.
And it's a bar. They do serve alcohol there. A lot of candle bars around the country do serve alcohol. I'm not ready to go there, but BYOB is legal in Albuquerque, so people can BYOB if they want to. But really, for me, it was that sense that, I may not know you, but we're all doing the same thing, and we're enjoying it, and we're going to go with it together.
Yeah, I definitely think when you are experiencing something new, it can feel really supportive to have like a community around you. And when so I had gone to like wine and paint, and I remember like every time you see someone make a breakthrough or like, oh, I made this beautiful color, they're like, what colors did you use? Actually, can I mix that color? And I feel like what you're saying involves a lot of that process and iteration.
That's a great example of what can happen. Yes, and really when people aren't quite getting the concept of a candle bar, I will say it's kind of like wine and paint. You're creating something and with some guidance. And yes, you're having fun with other people. The difference is everybody's creating their own thing.
We're not all going to leave with identical paintings.
Yes, which is fine.
Yeah.
I've done that a couple of times. But you will have your own unique flavor there.
Got you. And so to get into a little bit into like the candle part, like can you choose like what size candle? Like what does that look like?
Thanks for asking. It all depends on the vessel. I have different vessels that I like them to have a second life. I don't like it when I buy a candle at the store and then there's this candle holder that I might not have chosen because I was only thinking about the candle at the time. But my idea is to have something that has a second life. So I have mule mugs. I have rocks glasses. Others can be used for, like a pen or pencil holder, or people can bring back their vessel and at a discount make another candle in it. Now, let me also shout out to Southwest Sunflower Pottery because a whole shelf of my vessels are made by Sarah Lavelle, who's a local potter. And the payment for those, just like with the artists who have their art on my walls, it goes directly to her. And then I'll charge a fee for making the candle. But the pottery payment goes to our local potter. And
Absolutely.
she does beautiful work.
I mean, you've already answered one of my questions. Like, well, after you use a candle, like, can you come back?
Yes. And once I get a little better established, I'm going to offer that if people have a favorite type of vessel at home, as long as it's dishwasher safe, microwave safe, then they can bring it in and use their own vessel and then just pay the fee for making a candle.
Because I will say, I have I got a candle that came in like this beautiful jade vessel, and I have been like, well, I want to put another candle in this.
You could
so
do
this
that.
is great news for me.
And now I want to see that beautiful jade piece.
Listen, I will come by when you're offering and be like, please, I want to put a candle in this.
That sounds great. In fact, you could come and be my guinea pig.
Ooh, I mean, if you need to experiment. But you had mentioned earlier that you were retired and then started a business. I feel like that's not very typical.
I don't know. I think with us baby boomers, it's starting to become a little more typical to start over again. So, yes, I was a labor and delivery nurse for the first half of my career in Virginia. And then the second half of my career was here in New Mexico, and I was a family nurse practitioner.
Gotcha.
It was a great career. But going from medicine to retirement is like going from 100 miles an hour to 0. And I knew I'd be bored because I'm a multitasker, just as most medical people are. And I was. So I thought, okay, I could travel. I could pack up my mountain bike and go to Moab or wherever. But you can't do that 365 days a year.
True.
So when I decided I'd hit on this idea of the candle bar, I went to WEST, Women's Economic Self-Sufficiency Team here in town. And I said to the business consultant, I know nothing about owning a business. I know nothing really about making candles. So tell me I'm crazy and I'll walk out now. And she didn't. So here I am.
I love the women at West.
Yes.
I was talking to Agnes before she retired, and she was like, my favorite thing is when someone comes in and they're like, I'm ready to learn. And that's how I know we can make it work. But if they come in and they think they know everything, then like it's a much rockier road.
Well, there's no way I could have even pretended that I knew anything.
I just feel like I can hear Agnes being like, this is the perfect client. Just walking in and being like, teach me.
Yes, I was a blank chalkboard for them to write on.
So what was that process like then of like not knowing anything and then getting into owning a business?
West makes it happen. And the service is free. I just want people not only who are thinking about starting a business, but who already have a business and feel like they need more help. West is your place to go, because there are the consultations, regular consultations with a business consultant, and I had, I think, the best. But there are also many, many classes that can be done either in person or in Zoom. And they take you every step of the way. I mean, I did one long course that took me probably about 2 or 3 months, and had a business plan by the end of that.
Oh,
and
wow.
then they helped me to fine tune that. There are courses on financing. There are courses on the bookkeeping. There's just every aspect of starting a business is there. And every time I'd finish a course, I'd feel that much more confident. It's a fantastic organization. We're very lucky to have them in New Mexico.
Absolutely. And so what were some of like the highlights of like, this is going to happen when you started that process? Like,
Well, the first was being told that I wasn't crazy. That was a great first step. And then it really was, every time I'd start thinking, you have those moments when you wake up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and you think, oh my gosh, what am I doing with my life? This is crazy. Every time I bought a house, that's what I've done. And I would have those moments, and then I would meet with Valeria, my business consultant, and I'd walk out being energized and confident. And the classes did that too, that, you know what? This isn't out of the purview of anybody. They make it so that you learn and you keep learning, and you can take classes with them and just keep on learning even after the business. So I say the high point was every time I had a low point, they would bring me back up again.
and so just so like other people who are maybe on this process can feel heard or seen, what were those low points? Like, what were the moments that made you question?
The daunting aspect of the finances, of course. I think that would be what would stop a lot of people, that, oh, well, my idea isn't really viable. Money can be very scary. And we've gone through a pandemic where, small businesses ended because of that. So it can be very daunting. But that's where you want to work with the experts, the people who know how to walk you through this. And for those with a good banking relationship, talk to your representatives at the banks as well, and just make sure that they know where you're headed with this. I think there is no crazy business idea. I think if somebody has that passion and really wants to do it, it's the details that West will help you work through, or any kind of organization that helps entrepreneurs. I say go for it because I knew nothing, and I'm still learning, but I'm doing it. I have a business that's open.
When you were like figuring out, like, I want to do this, I'm going to open this, why did you decide on the Northeast Heights? Like, how'd you decide your location?
I'm not in the Northeast Heights.
Are you not
Heights. I'm not. I am halfway between Old Town and downtown.
Oh, that's totally the opposite.
Yes, it is. It's a very different area. I actually had thought about, when I first thought about this, I said, this needs to be in an area with a lot of foot traffic because people walking by are curious.
Yeah.
And I won't say where I live, but it's an area of really high foot traffic because I don't necessarily want to, I just want to talk up where I am. That's why. So that wasn't viable. There wasn't a place that was small enough for me to start. So I started looking around downtown, Old Town areas. And I came across, I realized that there are some properties for lease in the Country Club Plaza, which is right at the entrance to the Country Club on Central. Vinaigrette had just relocated to there. And I sent an email saying, hey, can we talk about one of your places? They answered right away. They really liked the concept of the candle bar, and it just happened. And I have to tell you, it's not where I would have first picked, but I'm so happy to be there. I have the best business neighbors. There's also Cafe Chica, which opened up a couple months before I did. They are such a draw for people. If you haven't been to Cafe Chica, everybody needs to go. Unfortunately, I'm a vegan, so I can't eat there, but I go in just to smell. But it's a fantastic bakery, and she also has focaccia sandwiches, and it's a great place. And there's a personal trainer, an acupuncturist, a tattoo shop, and they're all such encouraging people. They have really helped me on my days when I think nobody's ever going to come. and they help talk me up, and now people are coming.
When I was like in college, I worked at like a local coffee shop, and I definitely relate to like those Wednesdays where you're like, I have service to customers. Yes. What is happening? Why am I here?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think a despair sets in of like, this day is a wash.
Yes, and you don't like those days, but you know what? The times when I've even sat in my little candle bar, and it's just me, I think, well, the alternative is that I could be sitting just me at home, and this is so much better.
Absolutely. So if you don't mind, let's like get a little into your past. Like, you're not from here. What's happening?
Okay, so I spent my adult life in Virginia. It's where my children grew up. During those years, I was a labor and delivery nurse, and over time began a relationship with one of the OBGYNs, which I know all you L&D nurses out there, that's something we should never let happen, but it did. So when my younger child was graduating from high school, which is when I also finished my nurse practitioner training, I told Frank, my partner, that I was going to go somewhere to get my experience. Everybody wanted 2 years of experience. I said, I need to go someplace else. I had originally thought about some third world country medical care, but my children said, nah, it's a little too far. So I started talking to some nurses with whom I worked whose husbands had been in the Air Force. And they said, go to New Mexico, because they'd been based here in Albuquerque. Yeah. And so the kids and I came out. We all loved it. And so I told Frank I'm moving to New Mexico. And Frank wasn't yet ready to retire, but he came out with me. He took one look at Sandia Mountain and the golf courses, and he said, forget it. I'm retiring, and I'm coming out with you. So we did. That was in 2005. And I started working out on the Alamo Navajo Reservation, which is about 2.5 hours southwest of here. And then I worked in pretty much nonprofit healthcare, federally qualified health centers. I retired from First Nations Health Source, which is up on in the International District. I love that kind of medicine, and it was a great career. My daughter's a nurse. My son's a physical therapist assistant. They both, even though they saw medicine's crazy, they both went into it. Oh yeah, that's where I left out. After I moved out here, they moved out here too. Because, I mean, people call it the land of entrapment, but really, it's gorgeous. Those of us from the East Coast, we love not having humidity.
I had mentioned to you a little before the podcast that I had spent some time in Arizona during the pandemic. And when I drove back to New Mexico, never more had I appreciated how green and verdant it was here than living in Arizona for a year, in which it's like, oh, there are no plants in Arizona.
That's interesting. I mean, I've been to Phoenix, but only to just be in Phoenix. I haven't really been out to further Arizona, so it's interesting that we have more green.
Yeah, it was just a moment where, like, I had grown up in New Mexico most of my life, and I was like, it's New Mexico. We have, like, pretty sunsets. And then, yeah, when you live in other places, I think it really does give you that perspective of, like, oh, no, this is what I want.
That is true. My children, anytime we have gone back east, we're all like, ugh. The trees are in the way of the sky. We can't see, 40 miles away. Get those trees out of the way.
I mean, pros and cons. I have a soft spot in my heart. Humidity makes my hair look great. But I definitely understand. It can be rough. But obviously I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you decided to settle down.
Thank you. And my children and my grandson. Yes.
Aww.
Yes. My face aged probably 40 years when I moved out here away from humidity. But otherwise, I like it that I can exercise at noon in the summertime. I can't do that back east. Yeah.
You had mentioned mountain biking. How did you get into mountain biking?
Well, I started cycling about 7 years ago, I think. I had been running half marathons, and my knees told me that's never going to happen again. So I took up cycling, and at first I was cycling, on the paved Bosque Trail. And then one day I rode with a group down into the dirt trails down by the river, and I never looked back. To me, the paved trails are too boring. Now, I did try to learn true mountain biking, and had some kind of gnarly falls onto rock gardens, and decided out here in my 60s, I probably shouldn't be doing this. There are plenty of people much older than I am who are great mountain bikers, but I decided I would just stick to the Bosque trails. But that's just it. Dirt. Just give me dirt to ride on, and I am very happy.
Absolutely. I feel like we have a pretty thriving, and I could be wrong, but a pretty thriving biking community here. So you had mentioned it, and I was like, dang, I feel like people get to New Mexico and they're like, I think I'm going to get into biking.
Well, it is a great community, and it's all types of cycling.
Yeah.
And really, as I say, as far as being able to be outside, you can be outside here year-round doing something. I'm so excited that Sandia Ski was open this past weekend, because I missed those winters when it would snow and you could just take the tram up and head down. It doesn't matter what you want to do. There's something to do outdoors year-round here. I love it.
I mean, I'll confess, I'm a little bit of an indoor sports person. I love ice skating, and that is an indoor-only activity in New Mexico.
In New Mexico, yes. No, that's great. My son's partner is from Maine. She would say to you, you go, girl. That's great.
Listen, if she ever has time, I would love to skate outdoors. It just hasn't been an option.
It's not an option here. And actually, when she's going back to Maine in the winter, with climate change, they're not getting the thick ice either. So it's pretty sad. Yeah.
That's a little heartrending.
Yes.
I mean, I appreciate the snow we're getting, but I can feel for other people.
I know. I loved the snow the other day.
It was beautiful. Those 3 days were gorgeous. I was sending pictures to everyone. And some of my family in South New Mexico, they were super jealous. They were like, it's not snowing down here in Las Cruces. Dang it.
Yes, absolutely. And my daughter, who has been going all over the country as a travel nurse, she says New Mexico, and they all say, "Oh, it's so hot down there." So she was definitely showing the pictures of the snow to them. No, it snows.
It's got all 4 of the seasons.
It does, and none of them are extreme. So.
But yeah, just a little intrigue out of your nursing practitioner life. I feel like a lot of people talk about like how hard it can be on the body to be like a nurse for your whole career. What is your experience with that?
It is very hard on the body. There's all day long of going up and down long hallways, for a lot of nurses pushing heavy medicine carts, helping patients get in and out of beds and into different positions and doing different physical activities. As a labor and delivery nurse, we also did our own cesarean sections. So it's the 2 hours of surgery plus the running up and down halls and the 2 hours, sometimes up to 2 hours when somebody's pushing. It's a very, very physical job. I really liked that at the time because it meant I could eat whatever I want. I never had to worry about my weight because I was just constantly running up and down hallways. But now my knees are bone to bone, and I'm pretty sure that's why. But hey, I think it's a small price to pay for what was a really exciting career. I would not have traded it for anything.
I was just curious if maybe part of your like calm candle energy was coming from having such a hectic early career.
Absolutely. Yes, that was it, the Zen thing of it, and wanting to create that for other people. Absolutely has everything to do with I was in a very stressful career for almost 40 years. Because it's not just physically demanding, it's mentally demanding, it is emotionally demanding. And to be able to, like I say, sitting in my shop if I'm by myself, it is very calming. It really has helped me during recent stressful times. And I really want to create that for people. I want people to feel as though I'm going to walk away with a candle, but I'm going to spend that time just being there.
Yeah, I think it makes it a lot easier to like be with yourself and be calm when you are in a separate location. Like on a more minor note, right? Like it's easier to like work if you're at a desk, right? Than if you're on a couch. And I think this is like taking that to a moment. Like you're going to a physical location so you can have a moment to yourself.
Yes. It's like going to the gym.
Yeah.
You have to exercise if you go to the gym. Yes, you are going to be mindful whether you came in there thinking about mindfulness or not. I also offer the opportunity to have sensory-friendly hours. Ooh. So for those people who, no matter what the reason may be, there may be a family with an autistic child. It may be seniors who just want to make sure they're the only age group in the shop. They just let me know, and I will take their reservation and then shut it down for any others so that they can have that quiet time.
Absolutely. And so I think kind of like my wrap-up question would be like, what do you think is the most important thing for someone who's thinking about coming in? Like, what would you do to like cinch them at the end?
Oh, that's the big marketing question, right? I would say if you love fragrances, if you love candles, this is where you want to at least try it because you'll walk away with your very own, yes, this is the perfect candle, rather than rely on something that's been mass manufactured. But really come for the experience. Come for that sense of what I've heard from my customers. I made this. I created this myself. Come for that win, and also for just the quiet, just being with you and people you want to be with.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Allison, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about Fire of Sandia.